Yo, Philly landlords. Welcome to Landlords Connect, the Philadelphia edition, your resource for becoming a successful landlord in the Philadelphia area. My apologies for this being such a long break since the last podcast, but the past episodes are as relevant today as they were several months ago. We covered things like landlord insurance, how to manage maintenance expenses, property management, evictions, and other legal matters. And we even covered how to make lemonade out of lemons when Philadelphia gives you lemons with the great Ken Weinstein. So look back at those episodes that you can find in the notes. We'll give you all the links later. And let's move on to current things. So the Philadelphia Landlords Connect project includes this podcast. It includes the Facebook group that was started a few years ago called Philadelphia Landlords Connect. Look for it on Facebook, and please join if you are a landlord. And we have a new part of our project, of the Philadelphia Landlords Connect project, is the ProLink service. We are helping investors and landlords get matched with reliable contractors and service providers. And again, more information in the show notes, and you can always find us on the Facebook group and information for that. This episode is going to cover the issue of security, which unfortunately is a big issue in Philadelphia. A lot of people have had break-ins, squatters, all kinds of things. Just a short while ago, I actually was helping someone who I had helped invest in Philly several years ago. She had a property that she had to evict, and the property sat vacant, and was also quite damaged by the tenant, unfortunately. But not only that, while the property sat vacant, there was a break-in. All of the copper piping was stolen from the house. And had she known, and she lives in California and had no idea that the property management company didn't do anything to secure the property, had she known, she could have just probably installed an expensive security system and avoided that. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest, Vega, who is an expert in all things security for homes and multifamilies and commercial properties, and can really help us understand what all the options are, what we should be concerned about. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Louis. And if you could just tell us a little bit about how you got into this and what's going on.
Absolutely, Cheryl. Thank you so much. And I just want to publicly just say again how impressed I am with your group and what value you bring to the community. It's helped me personally, just being able to follow a lot of what the Philly landlords are doing. And so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit about myself. Again, for those listening, my name is Louis Vega. My company is Super Home, Smart Home Solutions. We do smart technology for home and business. I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised here, and I've gotten a chance to really see some of the great things that's happened in the city and some of the not so great things like Cheryl was talking about recently. And so I've been in technology for the last 14 years. So always serving in some type of technical role. I even went to high school for technology. In college, I studied broadcast and telecom. So I've always been in some type of technology role. And been in IT, served as an engineer for local hospitals in the city of Philadelphia, doing kind of engineering and design work. And as of like the last 3 years, we've been doing it for about 6 years now, but officially on the books, I'd say for about 3 years, we've been really focusing on supporting flippers, landlords, any investor, short-term rental, mid-term rental, with implementing technology in their properties to give them a little bit more peace of mind first, but also giving them more of a hands-off approach. So the technology today has just really, really come so far. And so it's kind of behooves you to not have something at your property so that you can kind of manage them remotely and give you a little bit more of your time back. And so as an investor myself, who's had, issues obviously with rental property and, having people that you have to evict and go through that whole process, and having vacant properties sitting, and I've seen it all. And so I really wanted to make sure that I service that community specifically and deliver some value and help them and myself, right? In the process, we're all in this together. We're one big family in this kind of real estate investing world. And, give everybody an opportunity to be more hands-off, have their properties be more secure, give them more peace of mind, particularly if you're out of state investing. And just create, really great solutions using the latest technology that's available and leveraging my background in tech to help make that possible. So that's just a little bit about myself. Yeah.
This is great, Louis. And I'm sure already people are, perking up their ears and saying, okay, so, what do I do? Because it's an issue that, we see it a lot in the Philadelphia Landlords Connect group, people talking about squatters, asking, hey, should I board up my windows? What should I do? Asking all the things about like, oh, I don't have internet connectivity. Can I secure my houses and stuff like that? So let's like kind of go back to the basics. And can you address, for example, what are the typical things that small landlords need to be considering as far as security? Because most people do not install any kind of security equipment right now.
Yes, correct. 100%. Most people do not. It's really an afterthought, and it's more a reactive solution. So once something bad happens, then, we'll get the call and say, hey, I need cameras. That happens every day. And I wish that, and through this channel here, right, through this podcast, we'll be bringing some awareness to making sure that you're a little bit more proactive with that. And one of the main things that I think every landlord should do is to have security cameras in the exterior, at least a minimum. In multifamily, you can do common hallways, but in the exterior of the property, to be able to keep an eye on things. It's not just for, vacant properties where they'll be sitting, but more importantly, if you have tenants staying at these properties, there's hard data that 80% of residents in today's market would opt to rent a property that has security options installed than those that do not. So when you have multiple options, they're opting for the ones that have surveillance on site, the one that has managed access at the front door. Because again, in the state of, or the city of Philadelphia right now, it's really, they want that kind of peace of mind and that comfort to know that they can check on the camera and see who's outside their door before they even get home.
So are we talking about a Ring? What are we talking about when you say camera?
Yeah. So this can actually come in many different forms. One of the things that I try to advocate for is more of what you would classify as that CCTV style cameras. Now, it's not as old school like that anymore. The technology has come really far. The mobile applications are great where you can view your cameras, but local hardwired surveillance systems are really the best ones to have at your property, because it's going to give you 24/7 around the clock access to whatever's been going on. The problem with cameras like Ring and some of the motion-based, which is what kind of Ring is, a motion-based surveillance or camera system, they tend to not always catch everything. You might have experienced it with a doorbell, maybe, where somebody left a package and you kind of saw the Amazon courier after they've already left the package and they're like walking down the street.
Right.
We can't really afford to have that type of environment when you're trying to keep eyes on a property and keep a property secure. And one of the big things that we deal with, obviously break-ins, we know that, people doing illegal dumping, both in and external. So we have our tenants inside might be leaving a trash can where they're not supposed to, or dumping. And, if you don't know what's happening, if you can't tell what's happening, then you can't actually, efficiently run your business there. If you need to hold your tenant accountable for doing illegal dumping, but you don't know if it was them or not because you don't have any security on or surveillance on site, you're just doing yourself a disservice. So you're losing. It's obviously impacting your revenue that way. So.
And could you talk about? I think what's probably coming to people's mind is, am I allowed to surveil my tenants?
Yeah, that's a big question, and so that's why I mentioned that kind of at the beginning. that you are permitted to have surveillance cameras on the exterior of your property. You are the property owner, and the state of that property is up to you. Obviously, you're going to get a fine if you don't cut the grass, right? So you have to kind of be able to maintain the exterior. The surveillance is part of that. And one of the things that I really, really stress is to not leave it to just the landlord to have access to this. We really want to share this with our tenants and make sure that they're part of the solution so that they feel like this is actually for them to protect them. Now, we have a side benefit of being able to monitor the exterior, make sure that things are in good working order. And that's, giving you an opportunity to be a better landlord. If you see maybe there's something got broken or there's a fence that's hanging off, and maybe you check in and you notice that, and you can address it sooner. So there's a lot of value to that, but I really want to encourage landlords, bring your tenants into the solution, make them a part of it, and let them know that this is an amenity for them. This is a value add for them, not for you guys to kind of, not for the landlords to spy, right? That's not the idea behind this. This is really for you to make sure that you're comfortable and you're safe when you come home.
And can you make it accessible when you say, like, bring the tenants into it?
Yeah.
And you also spoke before about how this is an amenity that gives you an advantage over your competition. And that most tenants would choose a property that provides that kind of security. So is it something that both the tenant and the landlord can log into and observe? Like, you have two, I don't know, admins or, people who have access to the system?
Definitely. Yeah. So that's part of it, and we kind of help, navigate those technical hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have obviously your administrative account, and then you can have subsequent users under there that you can give, view access to the surveillance system,
Mm-hmm.
property managers if you need to, etc. And there's a lot of ways also to integrate that into other features like access control, where in multifamily, for example, we're doing a big 32 unit project on North 33rd Street. And all of them are going to have access and intercom. So at the front door, there's a small directory for the apartments. You can actually dial in the apartment that you want to get access to, and the tenant can remotely, even if they want it to, open the door. And so we're really making their living experience more of like a connected home living experience. And you're also able, in those scenarios, even able to command a little higher rent as a result of having some of these specialized amenities.
Mm-hmm.
So they can unlock the door, buzz people in from their apartments. They have indoor stations. They hit the button, they get the doorbell ring, they hit the button, it opens the front door, and they don't have to come down 3 or 4 flights of steps, which a lot of these multifamily properties, when they're being constructed, particularly the ground up new constructions, or even some of these full gut renovations where you're doing multi-story, you're adding one on top. These stairwells are really tall. And so if you have somebody on the 3rd floor and Amazon, gives a ring at the door, they have to come all the way down the steps, to open the door. Or if it's a guest, they have to come all the way down. It's really, it ends up being a complaint. And I know that this is the case because I get the calls after the fact, because it wasn't planned for in the beginning. And now they're trying to solve for it. The landlords are trying to solve for it. So yes, you can divvy out that access, and then also, kind of integrate it with a surveillance system and give them access to everything. So, within a view only range,
Mm-hmm.
so that,
Okay.
so that they can be involved in the process.
So this is good to know, because sometimes we don't even know, that solutions exist.
Yeah.
Going back to what we touched on earlier, and I like I said, I know that it's a big issue for many people who are concerned about their vacant properties, and it
Yes.
keeps coming up, especially, the issue with squatters. Not only is it obviously unpleasant and upsetting to have somebody break into your property, but the subsequent issues that you then have of getting them out of that property, and absurdly how it can take many, many months to legally eject a squatter from your property. So aside from the vandalism, you also have the issue of you're ending up housing somebody else for free, and you won't be able to rent your property out. So what kinds of solutions are there for vacant properties? And then the question that always comes up is, but what do I do about internet access?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. And this is something that we solve for on a daily basis with investors. So one of the first things I'd say is you have two ways of protecting a property mainly. Obviously, starting at the exterior, and then you have kind of interior protection. From the exterior, we have a lot of the main things that you would probably think about: boarding up the windows, adding any kind of fencing around if it's a development site, for example, making sure you have fencing, boarding up the doors and windows. Having those types of secure elements on the outside is a pretty standard thing that I think that most people kind of think about. One of the cool things that we can do today is we actually have special cameras that allow you to watch your property remotely from anywhere in the world, without needing any internet access at the property and without any power. And so this is a big one, particularly in properties that maybe are vacant for long periods of time. You don't have utilities active, or maybe you do have utilities active, but it's an active construction site. And so you are going to have power going and coming at all times. It's not going to be reliable. We have specialty cameras that we sell and we rent for a project to project basis for our investors, which allow you to, and we will install them on the outside of the exterior of the property, which allow you to check on your property anytime. And this is a fully managed, full service solution that we've been doing. I've deployed hundreds of cameras at this point. I own personally like around 30 plus units, and they're constantly on rotation. So we've deployed them hundreds and hundreds of times.
And when you say fully managed, what does that mean?
Fully managed meaning we literally we literally just send you an email with instructions and say, here's one step, step number 2, step number 3, add that information in, and your cameras are live. We completely soup to nuts, handle the installation, the programming, the setup. Everything's done for you. You don't have to have technical expertise. We handle all the technical heavy lifting and give you cameras and visibility on the outside of your property. We can do this anywhere. We're even in the process of assisting different styles of businesses like landscapers, landowners. If you have vacant land and maybe you have illegal dumping, we can pretty much put these cameras anywhere. It's been a fantastic solution. So no, even if you want to just view cameras on the outside of your property, you do not need internet. You don't have to call your local internet service provider and get an expensive internet plan just to, support your camera system for your temporary site. The second element to that, so that's great, right? That's super cool. And we've been enjoying that. The second element is then on the inside. So what happens when somebody does actually get access to your property? There's, illegal entry there, a breach. Well, then you want to have an intrusion solution. And typically that'll come with like an alarm system a security system that you would commonly find, in a regular home, where you have door and window sensors. So if that contact is broken, the alarm is then triggered and it calls the police. I do highly advise that you get that. If you don't have anything in there, maybe you don't have to make the investment right away. But the second you start dropping materials on site, if you have appliances in there, you should have an alarm system.
Right. Well, and the squatter issue, for me personally, it's something I've luckily not experienced, but that's something that I'm very minded to, that Absolutely. I do not want to have to deal with that.
Absolutely. And, you may not be awake at 2 a.m., when they get in, right? So if you're not awake, somebody has to be monitoring the property for you. And that's kind of where the alarm system comes in. It goes to a 24/7 central station. That information then gets relayed to the police if they can't get in contact with you. And and they can go check on the property. I've helped dozens and dozens of investors with alarm systems. Excuse me. Excuse me. A little bit of water here.
Take your time. And
excuse me.
Do you want to take a moment and we'll?
Yes.
So, Louis, one thing that I've always wondered is when the alarm goes off, and that from my experience of using some security systems, they call me, they ask me, is this an emergency or a real alarm? Usually, fortunately, it's not. It's just some kind of mistake. But when it is, what are my options? Am I supposed to run over to the house by myself and look tough? Or do I rely on the police to do it? Will I get charged by the police? How does that work?
Yeah, so so that's a great question. So one of the things is I'd hope that you don't have to go over there in the middle of the night with your muscle shirt. But I would hope that, the police would kind of handle that. One of the things you mentioned getting charged. I'll address that really quickly. In the city of Philadelphia, to have a security system, an alarm system registered at your property, you have to actually pay a permit for that. And so a lot of landlords don't know this. The city of Philadelphia charges a $50 fee per year to have basically an alarm at your property, which is kind of crazy. Outside of the city, this is not a rule, but in Philadelphia, you do have to have a permit, and you fill that out with the city of Philadelphia. It's a little document, and you have to pay a $50 fee for that.
Is that
That is
on Eclipse or I wouldn't?
there's an online form for that, and you can like mail it in or you can pay it in person. It's not done through Eclipse exactly.
Okay.
And when we do alarms, when we do alarm systems, I include it in my document. So you have to actually fill it out and sign it. I don't submit it for you, but I do give it to you so that you understand, it's part of the process. So if you don't have that permit, typically, and you do have a lot of false alarms, you may end up, getting fined for that. But usually they're okay about it if it's not like a, habitual thing. But yeah, you do have to have that. So I just wanted to address that because that's a really big thing that people don't even know
Right.
exists.
Well, do you know, like, do people just get surprised by a bill from the Philadelphia Police Department of we
Yeah,
were
you
at your
can.
house and
Yeah,
here's what it cost you?
yeah,
Yeah.
you can be fined if you don't have the permit fee applied to that account for that
Okay.
property.
That's very important to know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very, very
Yeah.
important. So, but yeah, so you can have the security system at the property. It does help with intrusion. So if somebody comes in the front door or a window, or even if you didn't have any window sensors and you have a motion sensor inside of the main area, your alarm system will be able to, trigger, and then that'll send information to the central station, at which point they try to contact you. If they don't get you, within the first one or two tries, it'll automatically go to the police station for dispatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what do you find when clients reach out to you? What do you find are some of like the common myths or misunderstandings about all of this that people typically have?
That's interesting. One of the big things is that you have to have internet for an alarm system. What's cool is that the alarm systems today, they're a far cry from what they used to be, where they were tied into a telephone system, right? Where you had to have a telephone service in order to kind of call out and dial out to the police. Now our systems are cellular, and they run off of the cell phone towers in order to make that connection. So you don't have to have, excuse me, you don't have to have any internet connectivity for your alarm system to work. And so that's a big misconception as well.
Mhm.
And so,
Okay.
we can usually deploy them really, really easily.
So I'm just thinking of a scenario that I had, which is actually kind of interesting, and maybe you can say what I should have done better. So I had a vacant house, and I put an alarm system in there, and I didn't have any cameras, but I put the sensors and the movement sensor and all of that, and I went shortly before we were having a tenant move in. I went over to the house just to check that everything is okay. Everything looked fine. The door was locked when I arrived there. No sign of break-in or anything. And suddenly I'm thinking, wait, I know I had a washer and dryer in this
Oh
house,
no.
and there aren't any anymore. And it was a real puzzle, like, because if nobody broke in, what did happen? So I was able at least to look at the log of the alarm, and it did show that someone went in and disengaged the alarm. Now, as far as I knew, I was the only one with the code. The property management company had the code, and I have no suspicion that they sent someone to take my washer and dryer. And there was one contractor who I also don't think did it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think I can guess what you're going to tell me, but what should I have done so that I could have? I never found out who took my washer and dryer. I just had to buy a new one.
Yeah. So that's a tough one. It could have been where maybe they got in through a point that wasn't censored. That could have, I guess, be an option. I don't know. Did you have any
They had to get
areas?
the machines out of the house too, so the doors had sensors.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah. So at
But
some
if I
point,
had a camera, I
and
guess I would
that's
know who did it, right?
exactly, and that's kind of where our specialty cameras kind of come in play. For areas like this where it may be a vacant property that you're not going to have like an active permanent solution there, and you just need something temporary. Yeah, we can use these type of cameras so you can check them, and you'll get alerts if anybody walks in those areas. But separately, yeah, if you did have a permanent camera system there and it was connected online, then you'd be able to have seen it ahead of time, or at least got notified. And if it's not online, you can at least have gone back in the footage and seen what happened. Which
Right.
is again taking back to what I was saying earlier about having that 24/7 recording. Sometimes we need to put together a story. And in order to put that story together, we need a lot of information. And when you have missing pieces of information like you have today, with on this particular case, now you're just left as a mystery. But the cameras are going all the time, and that's why we want 24/7 recording, because they're not going to miss a second.
And does that hold up in court if
Oh
needed?
yeah, yeah, for sure. You can definitely use it as evidence to say, hey, we had somebody trespassing. This is the person that was there. I know who this person is, and you can kind
Mhm.
of give your case there. But yeah, I mean, if you have surveillance evidence, I mean, it's a huge deal. That's part of the reason why, and we can kind of get into this later. But the city of Philadelphia has a camera reimbursement program for commercial businesses. Now, it's not exactly, and I hate to say, it's not for like multifamily commercial. It's commercial in the sense of a storefront usually. But if let's say you have a mixed use, right? Let's say you have a mixed use building where it's tenants upstairs, residential, and then you have commercial on the bottom. The city of Philadelphia actually has a camera reimbursement program where you can qualify for up to, I think it's $3,000 in reimbursement for a surveillance system. And we've helped businesses in the city get through this program. I'm also partnering with a local nonprofit soon to service their customer base as well, and help them to basically get this grant money from the city. And it's a really great solution if you do have a commercial storefront and you're really didn't want to spend the money on it. They'll reimburse you up to a certain amount.
Well,
Sometimes it's a percentage, but yeah, up to $3,000 I think is
that's amazing. So that's something that you should be promoting because it's a win-win for everybody. I'm
yep.
thinking like I have a house on a block that in an area that's particularly difficult. It had a lot of drug problems, and I recently spent a lot of time there and got to know the neighbors. And my block is actually an exception to the area. It's in very good condition. A lot of the people on the block are actual homeowners who really truly care. They've been there for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And it's not commercial. It wouldn't be eligible for the program that you were just talking about, but the neighbors explained to me like they've positioned cameras in strategic locations, and they themselves managed to get the drug problem at least away from our block,
Wow.
as well as a lot of the garbage that was being dumped in the area and things like that.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting, and it would be interesting for neighbors to come together or a block to come together to do things like that if there's that kind of relationship among people.
I agree with
Because it
you.
makes
We got to bring back the block
yeah
captains and like that kind of stuff. So
yeah
we used to have
yeah
like a lot of that going on. I remember growing up, I was like a junior block captain, and when people actually cared about their where they live, and it was fun because you got to get you're able to keep an eye on things. So but yeah, that kind of stuff helps a lot, and the city is really trying to help solve a lot of unsolved crimes. And one of the ways that they do that is by leveraging these surveillance systems that local businesses have on the exterior of their property. And so that's why there's an incentive for them to subsidize, these installations, because it helps them. There's a caveat. They need access to the footage if there's ever a crime or anything like that. So
right, makes
there's
sense,
part of it.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
But
So
yeah, it's a great solution.
So I want to pivot a bit away from just the security aspect of things,
Sure.
because I think you're also doing a lot of smart home types of products as well.
Yeah.
So can you talk about for the small landlords, what kinds of products are out there that we should consider installing that can help us, again, make the properties more appealing to tenants, as well as provide us with some control, insights, things like that.
Absolutely. And this is my favorite topic. I love talking about smart technology when it comes to giving landlords, just hands-off access and remote access to their buildings. So there's so much now that we can do to really automate the property experience, and all the way from your property management software being integrated to giving tenants access to the property, doing virtual, not virtual, but actually self-guided tours is a new thing. By having technology in the property and integrating it with the property management software, you can actually schedule out self-guided tours where tenants can visit the property on their own time, book time, and you actually will see what's going on through cameras. They'll have limited access through a time window for the locks. And, I know some people may be a little weary of doing something like that. I don't know who's going to be coming in. What if they don't leave? I get that whole thing. But it's there and it's available, and it's here right now. It's available. So some of the fun things that we do is access and surveillance. And so those are the two main categories that we focus on. That's the most transactional thing that happens on a day-to-day basis. You have your foot traffic coming in and out of the property, and you have obviously the access to the property itself. So we have several landlords and short-term rental investors as well, where we implement smart lock technology, surveillance cameras on the exterior, water sensors for the water heater, sink, laundry area, near the PEX manifold. I've had landlords actually call me and tell me that they've caught a leak as a result of the system that we installed for them. Saving, obviously, water damage causes thousands of dollars in damage right away. Water doesn't care where it's going. So you know how that goes. We've all had a flooded basement.
So on every place where you have water, from bath to kitchen sink, you put a sensor there.
Yeah, they're wireless sensors, and we can create automations to say that if a leak is detected, I want you to send an email to the property management company. And this way, as the landlord, first of all, you didn't have to get a call because the system did it for you, the technology did it for you. Probably even before the tenant realized it, because they may have been away at work and there may have been a leak near the toilet, or there was a leak near the water heater, or the laundry, and they put a load to wash. They went to work and there was a leak. The system caught the leak, sent an email automatically to your property management company, letting them know that a leak was detected in what area. You can even name it to say laundry room. And then they can dispatch their maintenance person to service that leak. As a result of that as well, you can kick off other automations where you give them access to the property. The units themselves can have the smart locks on them, where maintenance staff can have access to the property, but only on certain windows, only on certain days. And that's also good for cleaning companies, any other vendors. We actually have one investor we have, let's see, that would be 4 units and then 3. So 10 units that I have with one investor. And in the 4-unit property, Pico actually had to come and survey all of the units. We were able to create one user for Pico. They were able to do it on their own, automatically apply one code to every single unit, including the front door. And so now, only during the day that Pico is scheduled to be in service, and then after that window closes, the code goes away and they don't have access anymore. It was so seamless for the landlord. They were able to just hit a couple buttons, couple clicks, and all of a sudden the entire property opened up for Pico so that they could do what they need to do. Long gone are the days where you have to go to the property with your whole big, ring of keys and going through and then, unlocking all the doors and making sure that, and then waiting for them to be done and all that. All that stuff goes away.
I used to say that the thing I hate most about being a property owner is keys.
Jeez, let's make them go away. We don't really need them anymore. It's good. It's good to have as a backup, and I do plan on that. Like when we're doing solutions for our landlords, I always make sure there's a key backup. Good to have a lockbox off site somewhere on a gate or something, just in an emergency. You just never know. But the lock solutions have come a long way. They tell you when the batteries are going low. Unlike electronic locks that are not smart, which if the battery dies, you don't know until it's obviously a problem. So, you get notifications well in advance, battery's low, you have to change the batteries. And so usually you do that a couple times a year. And we recommend these specific kind of higher performance batteries that work well with the smart locks to kind of give you a little bit more longevity out of that. But yeah, those are the big things. Obviously, you can integrate a lot more. I mean, there's heat and smoke detection that you can do. There is, again, the surveillance, the water sensors, lighting control. That's a big one that a lot of people miss. If you want to control lighting remotely from anywhere, you can control common hallway lights, exterior lights. Really great for short-term rental, actually. How cool is it that when you get a new booking that the property already lights up, on the exterior, that the exterior lights on when they come to check in at whatever time, that the inside, only a few lights on the inside at certain dimness, right? So it's not blazing bright in there. You can have it to a certain that the air conditioning comes on, so that's not super hot when they arrive at your property.
Yeah, no, I can tell you because I did have, I don't have it as a short-term rental any longer. I was telling you before we went live here, but I had all of that and it was really nice because it was down in, I'm up here in Pennsylvania. The property was down in Florida, and I felt like I have complete control of this house. It was fantastic.
It is an amazing, freeing feeling to know that you can completely control your home and you don't have to be there. It's so awesome. And the technology's here. And so my job is to make it easy for you and customize the solution so that you don't get a whole bunch of extra stuff that you don't need. Some of the big companies out there, the ADTs of the world, the Vivints of the world, they kind of try to pigeonhole you into certain solutions, long-term contracts, all that kind of stuff. In my world, I'm looking to solve the solution for you so you're getting the best value possible for your budget, because we know that this is an investment. They're all investments, and we only have but so much cash flow to work with. So we want to make sure that it's easy for the investor to manage, and we kind of customize the solution to match. So I'm glad you had that experience, so you kind of know now like what the value of that is. And I think more landlords and more, short-term rental hosts, midterm rental, and even the long-term rental space. As I mentioned, I have this one investor who's got these 10 units, and what was that, 7 units? I think it was 7 units. And he loves it. He's able to do it, and he's buying more multifamily. We're going to do another 10 units coming up for him soon, and we're outfitting it with the same system. And now you can see all of your properties under one umbrella, one dashboard, one portal, and control everything all at once. And give your property management staff access and have all that stuff integrated. So there's a lot of really, really great solutions out there, and we're really happy to be a part of it and creating those solutions for people.
So this is great. I really appreciate all this information, and it's good to know that you're out there. And so that people understand how they can work with you. So how does it work? Someone has a house, a multifamily building, a portfolio of properties, and they're considering this, but they have no idea what makes sense and what they need. Do you come out and do an evaluation?
Absolutely. Yeah. If I'm available, we're pretty busy nowadays, but I do have a booking platform so we can book time on site. So if you want to reach out to me, you can go to yoursuperhome.com. That's my website. From there, you can give me a little bit of information. I have a couple system builders. You can give me a little information on what you're looking for. But yeah, we come on site, we do an assessment, and, I provide you essentially a proposal, a technology proposal with what we recommend for the property, costs associated. And and then we get busy, and we take care of things for you. So everything is customized. Every property is different. Everything's not one size fits all. And that's kind of, again, where we come into play, where if you go off the shelf with another company, one of the bigger companies, they only can give you but so much because they only operate in this one space. Whereas we're doing, obviously, the smart home integrations, access control and intercom. those buzzer systems for the front doors for multifamily, the surveillance systems, the smart home integration, the short-term rental design. We are even doing Wi-Fi design as an IT guy for 14 years. I mentioned I do Wi-Fi is like my favorite thing to design out. And our systems aren't necessarily reliant on them either. So I want to make sure I let your listeners know. Some of the systems and a lot of the systems, when we design it, particularly for landlords, we want to make sure that the system is not required to have internet in order to function. Now, the cameras are one exception because they do require a lot of bandwidth, but they can still record locally even if there isn't any internet connectivity. But even the smart locks, for example, a lot of folks will buy like Wi-Fi smart locks. Well, if you lose Wi-Fi and now you have to change the code for a new tenant or Airbnb booking, you're going to have a problem. So our systems are designed around where almost Wi-Fi is the backup, and we use cellular as the front end. So to kind of create that consistent connection. So yeah, I'll go off on a tangent talking about this stuff all day because I get excited. But
well, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be reaching out to you. I think we talked about that we can give our listeners and our community members the opportunity to get a discount if they'll use the code PLC for Philadelphia Landlords Connect.
Yep. That's
and
right.
Just so people understand, you can also fill out, we have a ProLink submission form that you can find on the Facebook page, or reach out to me and we'll get your information over to Louis. It gives you a chance to describe what it is that you're looking for. And even if you don't know what you're looking for, but you have an understanding that this is something you should be thinking about, something you need, and something that you'll benefit from. Obviously, Louis is the guy who's going to be able to explain to you what you need to do. So I really appreciate you coming on here. You're a wealth of knowledge. I know we didn't get through half of it, but everybody knows now how to reach you and continue the conversation from here. Yeah. So thanks again, Louis. Thanks to everybody for listening, and we hope to be back on a regular basis. So stay tuned, subscribe. Don't forget to join the Facebook group, Philadelphia Landlords Connect. You can find it easily by searching it on Facebook. And we'll be doing more and more programs that I think you're going to find really interesting. So thanks again, Louis. And we'll talk again soon, I hope.
Thank you so very much. Thank you again for the opportunity.
My pleasure. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.